simple, really. 10 things I would change about 10 units in toilet tower defense. All I need you to do is tell me if you agree in the comments. The first thing that I would change about a unit is going to be the Santa TV man. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the Santa TV man. He's literally the best farm unit. But that's my problem. What's the issue with the best farm unit in the game being from an update that was half a year ago? I think you guys see my problem with this unit. It's a great unit. I just hate how the most accessible and not accessible, but the best farm unit in the entire game for everyone that anyone should be able to get is hidden behind an event that happened 6 months ago. If I was TTD, Talantrix, or I Am Evan, or anyone along those lines, I would recommend not necessarily making a better farm unit, because a better farm unit doesn't really need to be made considering how good the TV man is already, but I would definitely make a just as strong or really close to being as strong farm unit. And yeah, do 8.59 million of Santa TV man exist? Yes, there is a lot. There is a plethora of them, and that is a good thing. I agree with that. I think there should be a lot of them. It would be better if there was a farm unit that came from the summoner. So this might be a hot take, just my opinion. And I really don't think it comes as a surprise, but the next thing that I would change is definitely the clock spider. And everyone's gonna be like, but why? The clock spider is so good. That's why. It's literally, let's be honest, the clock spider's too good for a free unit that is a legendary. Okay? You can solo up to wave 100 with this unit, with the legendary unit. You don't need anything else. No slowing, no nothing. Just the clock spider. That's a freaking problem. I wouldn't change much about it. Maybe you just lower its range a little bit. Just lower the clock spider's range a little bit, and I think it would be perfectly balanced. Okay, but that's enough about nerfing. We don't want to nerf anything else. The next unit on this list is actually going to be the large clockman. And the reason why I put the large clockman on the list is because he hands down has the best, and I mean the best, special ability out of any unit in the entire game. There are units that have special abilities, but his lets you stop time for 20 full seconds. Do you understand how long that is on a specific wave? 20 seconds. And the cooldown isn't even that long. It's like 4 minutes. With that being said, I know you're like, but Hopeless, that's so good. What would you possibly change? His ability is great. However, the unit itself is extremely mid. He only has 40 range and he does 50,000 damage per second. If they want to keep it so he's a single attack only, that's fine. I get it. But considering he's a clock unit, I would give him some type of a slowing ability at least, so he could be viable against big boss toilets. But because he only does 50,000 single attack, it makes him kind of suck, and that's why you only place down one of them, if you place him down at all. Coming up next on the list, I have the Titan Drillman. This is a single attack unit that can't get anywhere close, nowhere near soloing Nightmare Mode all on its own. And considering how expensive of a unit it was from the shop, I definitely think this unit needs some form of a buff. I think literally just giving it some type of AoE with his laser would be just fine. He needs a nerf. Or a buff. He needs a buff. Our fifth unit on the list that I would change, which is actually my favorite unit in the game, is the Chief Clockman. And this one is actually probably the one that makes the most sense. So the Chief is actually my favorite unit in the game right now. And he has a lot of really good abilities. For example, he has probably the best endless ability where you can send a toilet back to the start. Let's say you have a 150 million HP toilet that you can't kill. Yoink, just send it back to the beginning and start attacking it again. The Chief Clockman also summons the strongest ally / summon units in the entire game, which good. I agree with that again too. It makes sense. He's the chief. He owns the spiders. He controls them. I get it. It makes sense. We agree with that. But the one thing that is it's just kind of weird is he buffs other units' range. I feel like that was just a weird tacky feature that just got added on for like no good reason. I think something that would have made a lot more sense for the Chief Clockman, which I wish they did, especially because it's not currently on a unit, unlike the range boost is already on the Leprechaun. But I think it'd been so cool if inside of his yellow range, he made it so that he gave other units a slowing boost. It doesn't have to be a lot, but how cool would it be if instead of a 15% range boost, he gave a 15% slow? So it doesn't work with units that don't do slowing. But let's say you stack it with the Astro that does 60%. How cool would it be if the Astro did 75% slowing instead? I don't know. I think it makes sense with the time clockman. If they want to make him a boost unit anyways, why would you not? I think that's my best take so far. What do you guys think? A change that they need to make to a unit that they'll never do because it literally just makes too much freaking sense. It's to add a AoE pierce damage to the shotgun. Let me explain. So, for example, there are units like the Flamethrower that do AoE and they have this super small range bubble. I think the shotgun cameraman should have the same type of bubble, right? Where he does a shotgun blast in this range. However, I think it should be pierce, but it has bullet drop off. So, for example, it should have lines. Like, it'll have like a 15-degree range line, 30-degree range line, so on and so forth. Kind of like a dartboard. And when they're in tight, really close to him, it does the 100% damage DPS, and then when you get farther away, it does like 80%, and then when it gets near the end, it does 50%. So it has bullet drop-off, much similarly to how a shotgun literally works. It makes too much sense. They'll never do it. Plus, this unit needs some type of a buff, and it needs some type of a cool feature. This is like the least, no, this is the least used mythic. No one uses this. It sucks. It sucks. But it's actually a good thing that I got the Flamethrower cameraman out because this is the next unit that I would want to change. Two big things that I would change about the Flamethrower. First and foremost, it being one of the first slowing units in the game, if not the first, awesome. I love it. However, 25 range? 25? You might as well slap me in the face with a cream pie. There are literally units that have triple that range. So obviously, the first thing that I would do is freaking upgrade the range. It makes him completely useless. However, next thing that I would add to him as well, and the next change I would make, is whenever the Flamethrower cameraman hits toilets with his Flamethrower, you can't really tell if units are actually getting slowed or not. I think this is a problem with a lot of units, besides like the Toxic and the Green Laser. Like with the Green Laser, you know toilets are immediately getting slowed as soon as they get hit. Same with the Astro. Same with the Chef. However, the Flamethrower, you can't really feel it. And that's why I wish with the Flamethrower cameraman, they added the similar ability that they have with the Toxic, where when the Toxic hits them with his fart cloud, there's like this green hue aura that goes over toilets. They definitely need to do the same thing with the Flamethrower, except with flames. Especially if the game wants to stack slowing buffs. That would be so cool. If you could see like the fart cloud animation, the fire cloud animation, and like with the Sinister TV man, like a snowball freeze animation. Oh, like if there was like a little frost that goes on the feet of toilets, that would be so cool, man. Once again, they'll never do it. It makes too much sense. So they tried to do something cool with the large scientist cameraman. They made it so he does a base heal. That's great. The healer woman does that now. So basically the only cool function the large scientist cameraman had is completely useless now. Being one of the least sought after OG units in the game, exclusive units that is, he's really, really, really bad. So much so to a point that any value you can get by trading him, you should. The change I would make to him is if they want him to have a base heal, maybe make it so that he gives a buff to units instead. Maybe just a slight attack boost buff. Nothing crazy, just to make him a little bit better. And he can keep that like support identity. And the next thing I would change is I would make the Titan Present Man from a godly down to a mythic. It's simple as that. I would just change its rarity. I don't think it's godly status. It's nowhere near godly status anymore. It doesn't make sense. It is unfitting for the Titan Present Man to be in the godly tier, especially with how many of them exist. The UTTV is catching up in the amount of summons, but with godlyflation and just how weak and how strong Talantrix and the development team continue to keep making units, like for example the Clock Spider and the Classic, it just makes the Titan Present Man have no place being a godly. People don't use it either. It's essentially just a mythic unit, a glorified one. I was just going through my inventory. When did this happen? Someone gave me a signed jail unit. Hey, if you're watching this, jail, let's collab sometime. And the last unit that I would change on the list is going to be the camera helicopter. The thing that I would change about the camera helicopter isn't really much. I would probably either just completely rework the current one, or I would ultimately just make a new one. And the reason for this is the max unit that comes out of the camera helicopter right now is a Titan. I'm talking about the OG Titan, not like a UTC, not a UTS, the Titan cameraman. With that being said, I would just make a new one, maybe even a mythic one. That would be really cool, but it can hold like upgraded Titan cameraman or something. So basically it's very similar, maybe just slightly more polished, But at its max tier, you see UTCs coming out instead of just Titan camera. Kind of a fun idea, kind of a cool idea. And considering they brought back summer units, finally, just a cool idea that I think they should add to the game. Either way, that is 10 things I would change about 10 units in toilet tower defense. Let me know if you agree with my changes, and let me know what changes you would make to the game. If you haven't already, make sure you guys press that subscribe button. We are trying to get to 100k subscribers before the channel turns 1 year. I would greatly appreciate that. Either way, without further ado, if you haven't already, make sure you watch the video that's currently on the screen. I'll see you guys all again tomorrow.
Bye.